Hi, it's me again with Corel Tips and Tricks. Somebody sent me this graphic that they want engraved, so I thank you for telling them what they're doing. They want the bottle, not pretty much the glass. I'm going to do it two different ways. So I'm going to make a duplicate of it and move it over. You can see that it's a bitmap because the bounding box. And for the one I'm doing it for, I made it quite a bit smaller so it would trace better because I'm going to try it both ways. I'm going to go in order, and you can just see that it's a complete uh, bitmap. So I'm going to try to trace it first. So if I'm going to trace it, I'm just going to do the bottle. I'm going to take my crop tool and I'm going to crop out the bottle. The bottle has to be selected. I had two copies of that. The bottle had, and I left a little bit of the glass there. So I'm going to, just for Corel's sake, I'm going to crop it again. And I had it selected. If I didn't have it selected, that would go away. So now I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to Trace Bitmap, Outline Trace Clip Art. I did not do this pre-hand, so I don't know how it's going to work. Came out pretty good. It would at least get us the shape of the bottle. And if we go up to Object and Group and ungroup it, we can quite possibly get rid of that white. There's a bunch of white. So the best thing to do in this case would be to left click, right click, and you can see that there's a bunch of lines in the white. It isn't really going to be worth tracing. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to hit P to put that in the center of the page. And what I'm going to do, you know what? Well, it'll work. Transparency Docker. And I'm going to make that bottle a little more transparent so I can see the light. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm holding down the control button and I'm going to hit P. So my bottle's not in the center of the page, but I can take my nudge factor. I'm going to set it like 0.01 and I'm going to nudge the bottle more so in the center. That way I only have to draw half the bottle. And you can just use your imagination here. I'm going to use a 2-point line at first and go from there to there. And it, if you hold down the control button, it'll be perpendicular. Then I'm going to draw another line holding down the control button. I'm going to give this a little bit of a rounded shape. And probably the best way to do that would be to take a rectangle about there and go up here with your ratio lock or really unlock. And let's go like 0.2. And that might be too much. So let's go 0.1. And it just rounded that off a little bit. I can take my, well, I can't because my line's not long enough, but if I finish my line on the rest of the bottle, we can come back in a minute. So it'd be better to have that line exactly in line with that other line. So I'm going to start there and go down. I'm going to move it down till my Corel catches up. And I'm going to hold down the control button so it's perpendicular. Now I can take this and grab my virtual segment delete key and delete that. So now I have kind of that rounded shape. And I'd really rather have a little round to that bottle. So let's do this. And if you look, both these are not together. So I'm going to shift select that one and that one. And then I'm going to select them both, two objects selected at the bottom. I'm going to go to Windows, Dockers, and Corners. And I'm going to just barely round off that corner like 0.02. Well, it didn't do it. Holding down the shift to get both of them and hit apply. Yeah, that's probably a little bit much. Let's go 0.01, hit apply, and I like that. I don't need to delete that line, but I'm going to go ahead and delete that line. And then we're just going to finish the shape of the bottle. I could probably go ahead and draw the other line next. I'm going to start about right there and hold down the control button. Now I've got these two lines I need to match up. So I'm going to get my 3-point curve line. I'm going to go from there to there and just give a little bit of a curve. That's really pretty good. You could spend a lot of time on that. I'm going to get the shape tool and I'm going to extend this line, holding down the control button. Now that's got a little bit of a corner on it too. Then I'm going to get the 2-point line, and I'm going to go across the bottom here, holding down the control button. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. We have to trim these lines with the virtual segment delete key for this to work. And I've got that line. I'm going to shift select that line. Well, I need to do it with the shape tool, and then select both those. Hold down the shift. Woo. I actually got the bitmap. You know, wonder what if I just delete the bitmap. Can't really delete the bitmap. Let me see if I can't just grab this. One thing we can do. Okay, what I can do is what the bitmap is selected. I'm going to go to Object, Lock, and lock it. That way I can't grab it. And I can do this right here. I'm going to select that, shift select the red line, grab both those. Well, it's not working. Oh, I need to join the nodes. I'm going to open up another Windows, Dockers, and join corners. So I'm going to join both those, and I'm going to hit apply. Then I can do this and just give it that little bit of a curve, maybe a little bit more on this. I always back up. Let's go 0.02. Now what we've done, we've created half the bottle. I'm going to get rid of the line. Now, if you remember, I can't delete the bitmap, but I can go to Object, Lock, and Ungroup All. And then that way I can move the bottle out of the way, and there's my half a bottle. So I'm going to control, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to weld it together so all the lines are together. I think I've got a little bit of extra line right there. I'm going to zoom in. Nope, it looks good. And I'm going to Control D and then hold down the control button, get the two-sided arrow, and do that right there. Now, it could possibly leak, so I'm going to draw a rectangle around it just in case I get, and I don't think I've got the curve enough, but you can understand that. Then I'm going to get the Smart Fill tool, and I'm going to fill that in. And good Neil, we have no leak. Now, because he's an engraver, he's going to want to use it black. And then we're going to make that line that might be the hardest part of the whole situation. And I'm going to go left click, right click. And you could still adjust that curvature a little bit more. Let's go 0.04. No, you know, I guess you can't. You know what, if I delete that node? Whoop. Tell you what, let's grab that node, shift select that node, and hit delete. Delete that node. You know what? It kind of probably needs to have a little bit of a curve to it anyway. The bottom of the bottle. That would have been a good idea right there. Now, let's go 0.04 on the, maybe it won't do that after it's like that. Nope, you'd have to do that from the start, but that's really easy to do before you've made it in half. Now this line, I don't really know how to draw it. You know, if I nudge this out of the way correctly, let me hit P and put it back. Let me put both these in the center of the page. Of course, it isn't in the center because that bottle wasn't in the center, but that's really close enough. I can always change my nudge factor 0.01 and grab one or the other and nudge it over and down. And I'm going to kind of mimic that line. So what I'm going to do is take a 2-point line first, go from about the middle all the way downwardly. Then I'm going to get my 3-point curve line. And I'm going to go like this. I'm going to do this a little bit different than I was thinking I was going to do it. I'm going to go from there and give a little bit of a curve. You'll kind of want that to flow. On the bottom, it's a harder curve. I'm not quite far enough, so I'm going to grab the shape tool. And then I'm going to grab the 3-point curve line and go from there to there, and then do that right there. Now let's get the bottle out of the way again. Tell you what, let me set my nudge factor on like 2 inches. Grab one or the other. I would just do that, then move the bottle back. Now this line, I'm going to weld it all together so it becomes one line. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to make it something thicker. That's really pretty good. But you're going to say, well, that's got a tip on it. Well, if we go now and convert this outline to an object, we can actually left click, right click, and we can kind of mimic by moving nodes. And let's take those two nodes away and just kind of bring that node in and bring that node in. And we definitely probably want to curve these two lines. Well, I'm going to do it. Oh, I'm joining curves. No wonder it won't work. There we go. That's why I always close Docker. That looks pretty close to the original. It's got a little bit more of a point, and you could still fix that by zooming into the nodes and getting rid of that node and and then take these two nodes. You know what? I'm going to delete those nodes and just kind of bring this more to a point. And I could actually bring this in a little bit, this in, and you could spend as little or like much time as you want on that. The bottom may be going to be a little bit harder, but not really. We're just going to take these and make them into a point or a semi-point. Maybe take that node and let's delete it and see what happened. Don't like it. But we can use our shape tool to bring that curve in like that. We can delete that one, bring our shape tool in. So I'm using the shape tool mostly. We're going to bring this down a little bit. Then we kind of want this into a point, so it's going to be too much. But we could go like 0.01. There we go. I'm going to delete that node now and do the same thing. Not really sharp enough. And you could play around with that. And because he's engraving it, and it'd be the same on the top line. Well, let's go ahead and do it. It's just basically as a straight line. And I'm just going to draw a straight line, 2-point line from like right there to right there. And you know what we could try? Let's go to Artistic Media Tool and pick one that is kind of like sharp in the middle or not sharp in the middle. Go like 0.01 thickness. Nah, it's too blunt. Let's get that one might work. No, that's too blunt, so this might not work. I gotta back up here. And you could still, we could just do the same thing, just take the pick tool and make it a thicker line. Too thick. And actually go hit F12 on your keyboard and make it have round end caps. And then I'm going to left click, right, well, got to go to object, convert the outline to an object. Then you could go left click, right click. Because if he's an engraver, we don't want that line to engrave. So then just take your smart fill tool, set on black. I'm going to see what my nudge factor is first. 2 inches good. Take the smart fill tool and fill that in. And there you have it. My line's maybe a little bit too thick on the shiny part of the bottle. But if we look with the yellow box trick, that will not engrave. It'll look like that on engraving. Anyway, hope that gave him some ideas and maybe a little bit of help, and thank you for watching.